Welcome to our podcast offerings, where we invite you to take responsibility for your own well-being, reclaim your energetic sovereignty, embody authentic living, and come home to your true self. We are two sisters, two oceans apart. Maya Lotz from the Energy for Life Wellbeing Practice and Sandy Lotz Viner from the Inspired Life Coaching Practice. Together we bring you the Ocean of Abundance podcast and lots of possibilities to engage with when you choose to align with the wisdom of nature. In today's podcast, we are going to continue talking about sovereignty, and we'll take a specific look at our Sanctuary for Life free monthly offering, Sovereignty Circles. Welcome, Sandy.
Hello, Maya. Lovely to be here.
So I came up with the idea of a Sovereignty Circle. It is a silent, online, intentional, small group space where we come together in compassionate presence for self and others. So, as with all our offerings, our Sovereignty Circle also incorporates our Fern approach to create a cohesive well-being narrative. And just a reminder, Fern is our acronym for fascia and trauma informed, yoga inspired, Reiki empowered, and nature infused. So what we basically do in a session, I don't know where we want to go with this. So if you want to jump in, or I'm talking a lot.
Okay, so Sovereignty Circle. You said that, and I acknowledge. Well, start over. Okay, Maya. So you mentioned that Sovereignty Circle was one of your birth products, a brainchild of yours, a heart longing. So tell us a little bit more about how that came to be.
So find that there are many offerings and big gatherings and Zoom gatherings, and a lot of online offerings exist already. And I appreciate those. But I did struggle with Zoom, and at first it felt like it was just me. And then over time, I realized that there were actually many people who felt challenged by big Zoom rooms, and the chat is going off on the side, and a lot of overstimulation for a nervous system in a way, and certainly didn't feel like a conducive, calm space. And I often ended up being someone who preferred listening to the recording afterwards. And when I was going through a challenging time, and even now, when I sort of have worked through many of my challenges, I often want to connect with people in silence. I'm not great on small talk. And I really believe that when we quieten down, we actually can hear one another's heart song. Because especially now that we're working and with fascia already knows before we formulated the thought, before the words are out our mouth. So it is this amazing sensory organ, and we are already connecting on that level. So for me, I started envisioning, what would it be like to have an intention where we create a sovereign circle. The theme is sovereignty. We create a global intention so that people who may feel stretched or overwhelmed or tend to overthink, and I am one of those, don't have to stress about creating an intention. So I formulated a intention around sovereignty, and then give people the way we've set it up is that people go online, but camera is off, mic is off, the little chat facility is there simply so that if there's anything wrong with audio, a person can do that. And this is for the quiet ones, people who don't need more stimulation. They want to meet, they want to connect. They are possibly already interested in Reiki, fascia, they possibly already participate in healing modalities, and they're looking for a way to be in silence with others intentionally.
I love that. There's so many things that have come up for me there. I want to just mention a couple of them. I think this is an ancient longing of us as a society or as humans. People used to gather together frequently around a fire, or in community in the church community. And a lot of those environments were silent, sitting in silence. And that part of you that the part of you were talking about, we are, even the outgoing ones in the world, the extroverts, so to speak, they do still have this desire to be able to drop into silence. But there's a lot of reasons why we can't, because when we try and get quiet, sometimes the mind chatter becomes overwhelming and people kind of they push away from the silence, the awkwardness of the being with myself alone in silence. So the fact that we want to provide a communal space for people, an offering where they can be in quiet with themselves, but in a group. I think it's an ancient longing of people. Some, yeah, you wanted to say something there? Then the other thing that I was thinking about when people are going through difficult times, doesn't necessarily have to be a permanent condition. It might be you're going through a hard time of life transition, life changing, you're going through grief, loss, change, right? And when you are dysregulated at that stage of your life, you're longing for a filtered human connection. I remember for myself, I wanted to find quiet spaces where I could be outside of my home, difficult situations of adjusting to change and loss. Their nervous system wants safe, quiet spaces where they can just be. And so, yeah, this sovereignty circle sounds like it could be a perfect match for somebody who's trying to widen their field, feel more connected to a bigger whole, but without the things that are going to be challenging, triggering.
Yeah, and when you're going through a tough time, you're having a duvet day, the fact that you're not seen on camera, it's like, okay, one less thing to worry about. Two, I don't have to speak or be called on or feel I'm letting the group down. The showing up, the commitment, because the way we've structured it is we only allow a small group of people. So there's the two of us and then six more people, and you need to register via email, and then we'll send you all the links, and we'll put all that in our show notes, so it keeps it into a small safe container. And a lot of the pressures of showing up for a meeting has been taken away. There are many people out there who are sensitive souls and they need a safe space. And as you say, even those who are more sociable or extroverted, they may well also want it. But to be in silence on your own, if it's new or even a seasoned practitioner, we go through times where we want that connection. And when we sit in meditation or in silence or in intentional space together, we amplify the energy, and it's easier to drop into the silence. And I found that many of my clients would say, I just can't meditate on my own. So here is that opportunity. And of course, because we work with fascia, I had to do all my research and have a look because I had the sense, like you say, that there's something ancient within us that wants it. And indeed came across research that showed that silence deeply benefits our fascia. It calms the nervous system and it allows our connective tissue network, our fascia, to uncoil, to reset, to restore into its natural fluid gliding motion. So, yes, that there's something innate in us, an ancient innate body wisdom that longs for spaces where we have that.
Right. And then also the fact that we're looking for connection in some form of belonging, right? First of all, we connect with ourselves, we belong to ourselves, but we do have a desire to connect to a bigger whole. And in order for me to make that connection, I need to be comfortable in my own body. So, providing a sovereign circle where there's less distraction, less how I should be showing up, less, it takes away the hindrance that could be there for us to actually connect to self and then to others. So, yes, you're showing up in a circle to be with others and amplify, but first and foremost, each person in this group will be showing up for themselves first. We remove certain things to get to clarity, to get to the pureness of the connection. And something that just came up for me while you were speaking is that I think once we are aware of fascia, once we are aware of how nature is healing us, once we become aware of the positive impact, what the Fern approach is doing for each and every one individually and then also collectively, the desire for more quiet, introspective, more intentional, more pure connections might amplify. It's not a let's do this quickly to get better and then go back. It's a let's do this and growing forward into something more meaningful for the individual. That's the one part of it. And then the other thing that I was thinking of is sometimes when we want to heal, grow, or change something in our lives for the better of ourselves, we might have this little voice saying, when I can only get to that point, then I will be ready. We're always waiting to be ready, to be ready, to be able to go to the whatever the next thing is. Well, with the sovereignty circle, there's no needing to prepare to be ready. Pajama day, duvet day, head cold day, you're ready because you're off camera. You are ready already to be part of a group that can hold space in silence.
I think it's very important that commitment. I mean, a big theme for us at Sanctuary for Life is sovereignty and making that commitment to self, as we discussed in our previous podcast, the importance of self care. So, this is a big step for someone who is going through a transition, as you say. So, when you take that step to commit to show up for yourself, you are taking a step towards self care, towards sovereignty. And when you honor your own sovereignty, as we discussed in our previous episode, we also honor that other people are sovereign. So there is, as you say, that double whammy. You showed up for yourself. We provide a way to do that where there is nothing to fix or prepare. It's as stressless as we can do it. There's no re traumatizing or retelling a story. It's a short space of time, approximately half an hour, once a month. You know well in advance. You've got guides. You're just going to connect with yourself and with others for half an hour in silence, shining your light, being sovereign, being true to your nature.
The word that came to mind when you were speaking is touchstone because we know it's going to come up. It's regular, once a month. We've actually even established a date, the 23rd of the month. It's universal in the sense that we've kind of find a time slot that I think accommodates most time zones. It's predictable. So it's like a touchstone, right? That I can think about a calendar here. There's 12 months. So if we have 12 of these sovereign circles, and one of us commits to being in those sovereign circles, you have had 12 opportunities to be in deep quiet with yourself. That might be very new to a lot of people, or it might be an amplification of what they've already been doing in private. But it's for me, it's more like the touchstone, right? There's this, there it is. I took care of me and I'm still here because between sovereign circle to sovereign circle, I have lived a full life. And I've reminded myself that I keep on taking care of self and what my soul's longing for. Because sometimes life gets busy and we forget. And unless you have a touchstone where, you know what I mean, you can get pulled away from, and then you have to regroup and come back. And that's why a lot of times before we came up with the Fern approach as a metronome for living, we both experienced that. You get better and then you forget. And then you become complacent and then you forget. And then you have to re-remember. And then the re-remembering always seems to be hand in hand with a deep need for healing because we fell off the self-care path. And so I love that this is there regularly.
I love the idea of a touchstone and what you were saying there. It's then it helps us to become accountable to ourselves and to others, and it's a meaningful way of relating. You're connecting, and perhaps over time, as we grow, people will feel that we build this community.
It's also like saying you want to start a book club. The difference is with a book club, you have an obligation to read the book and then you get together and then you discuss the book, say once a month, which is great, but it's an external in commitment. The sovereignty circle is an inside out job and it's in silence because we do communicate non-verbally the whole time. I'm going to take this back to an experience that you do and something that I've done. Anybody who's done a long distance activity like cycling, running, hiking. You are out in nature, everybody minding their own business, trying to keep themselves on the path, on the bike, in the game of running. I'm not really talking much when I'm doing that activity with everybody around me, maybe in the beginning, maybe at the end. But there's some part in the middle of that activity where we fall into silence. And everybody is just acutely aware of their heartbeat and their footsteps and their breathing. They're aware of the person next to them and they feel connected to them, but words seem to be not necessary. We're totally in sync, but still individuals, each on their own little bicycle. And it feels to me the sovereignty circle is something like that. We're very connected, and the words will just be in the way.
Yes, I like what you're saying. And I listen to a lot of other Reiki podcasts because I need that community. I live quite remotely, so I want to hear what other people say, and I love that. And then there is a particular practitioner. I really value her pre-recorded distance Reiki offerings, but it is not the same as joining a group where there are people live with you in silence. And there is something in silence and to know that there's someone on the other side. And also something that's very big for me, the need to witness myself, and others are there to witness themselves. And we come together in that space and we hold the space together. I hold it for you, you hold it for me.
Yeah, and I think you're also touching another point and about witnessing and just holding space, like the difference between a pre-recorded, which has value, and then when you know that we're actually live, there's a different kind of energy and enhanced, maybe a little bit of energy there. If you know something is live, um, even if it's silent and live, because you showed up physically in present time. And it reminds me of that we're always connected, but most of the time, what we're going through on our own. That doesn't mean that there isn't external support if we need them. I'm just saying it's nice to know that we are connected energetically, even though we are going through our own experience in our own time and space, right? It's like I can empathize, sympathize, and have compassion for your situation, but it's not mine. You're doing the work. Yet, knowing that over distance, even if you're not visible to me, or even if I can't touch or smell you, there's something about knowing that there's 8 people in the sovereign circle and they're all doing life together alone, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And that at any point outside of the circle, you could reach out. I mean, the other mediums are still available. There's phones and texts and emails. We're talking now, right? So that doesn't go away. But there's this new dimension that we want to not create because it's already there, maybe just spotlight or emphasize or give a higher profile in a very noisy, busy world. That just sitting with silence and checking in with your soul longing is something we're so hungry for in this world, so thirsty for, because it's so hard to block out enough time for not just the outside, but also our internal barriers to that, to silence my anxiety enough so that I can sit long enough in meditation, or to silence my worry. These are these circles would be ways for us to practice that. Once again, the touchstone, because you're not going to get it on day one. It's not going to feel like, oh yeah, this is my new lifestyle. We grow into these new ways of being with ourselves.
Yeah. So shall we do a sovereignty circle and share it? And
Yes, I'm sure by now, if anybody's listening, they are going like, so what is it? So let's do it.
so I invite you to take a moment and to make yourself comfortable, and you can be seated or you can lie down. And I'd like you to take a brief moment to fully arrive, knowing we are going to hold space and compassionate presence for ourselves and for each one of us here today. And just take 3 nice deep breaths. You can move your body, you can do whatever you need to. Just inhale and then sigh it out and just get comfortable enough so that you can be still. In the stillness of the quiet, if we listen, we can hear the whisper of the heart, giving strength to weakness, courage to fear, hope to despair. Howard Thurman. I invite you now, before we hold silence and hold our global intention together, to follow along with guided self rating. If you prefer, you can simply listen and open your heart to receive. I invite you to rub your palms together, just creating some warmth, connecting with yourself, with your fingers, with your hands, waking up the nerve endings in your hand. And then connect your thumbs to your sternum. Just feel two hands coming together, each finger representing an element. Notice what you notice between the palms. And now gently move your hands, and if you're able to, rest your hands on the top of your crown. If you are not able to, just imagine you are. And you can even just hover your hands above your crown. And our intention here is to open to wisdom, to universal life force energy, clutter. And if you need a visualization, you can imagine a beam of sunlight entering the crown of your head. And perhaps silently say to yourself, I am open to the wisdom of the universe. We're now going to move our palms over our eyes with our fingers resting on our forehead. And we make sure our jaw is relaxed. We want to soften our perception and release our need to know. Say to yourself silently, I trust my intuition and release the need to know. We move our hands to our throat or collarbone area, either lightly touching or hovering. For some people, touching the throat can be uncomfortable. And our intention here is to speak our truth and listen to our inner voice. Now place one hand over the center of your chest on your sternum and the other one on top of it. We are learning to cultivate deep self-love and emotional healing. And silently say to yourself, I am worthy of the love I give to others. If it's comfortable, you can tap into feeling the rise and fall of your chest. And you can visualize green leafy growth like a forest expanding with every breath you take. Glide your hands now so one hand is above the navel and one below it. And we're going to balance our personal power and our creative flow. Breathing into our belly. And for our solar plexus, the affirmation is I am resilient, capable, and empowered. And for the sacral chakra, I honor my emotions and my creative flow. Now moving your hands to your hip bones or resting them on your thighs. And here are intentions to feel safe, secure, and supported by the earth. You might like to visualize roots growing from your seat deep into the soil, anchoring you firmly. And silently say to yourself, I am grounded, supported, and safe. And I invite you now, as we transition into 10 minutes of silence, to readjust your seat. Notice for a moment what your energy feels like now after this short Reiki session. And we're going to hold a global intention for each one and all of us present to shine our unique sovereign light, align with our true nature, and be in resonance with our highest good. You don't need to try and remember it. I'm going to read it out twice more, and then we will sit in silence. We are essentially saying, I am sovereign, I align with my true nature, and I am in resonance with my highest good. I shine my unique sovereign light. I align with my true nature. I am in resonance with my highest good. And when I honor my sovereignty, I'm also honoring yours. Let's take 10 minutes now, sitting in our sovereignty, resting in our true nature, in resonance with our highest good, for ourselves and for each one of us present here today. I'm going to invite you to gently return to the present. Listen to your body. Notice what it wants to do. How does it want to move? Perhaps you want to yawn. Whatever you do, make it slow. And however your body wants to move now is just perfect.
Thank you, Maya. That was beautiful. And I feel even more relaxed than when I came into it. It's a beautiful experience of doing this guided self Reiki. What came up for me was first we attend to the self, and then we hold a universal intention. And that really summarizes the whole thing about sovereignty circle, I think. And the fact that it comes on a regular basis, like we said before, the touchstone idea is that we're human. So life gets busy and we start to go back into an older pattern. So here we have a metronome to help us remember what we want to commit to doing, which is take care of self. That's the intention. Listen to the longings, what's coming up. Listen to the discontent. Those are things we need to maybe let go of. And then ripple that out into the bigger world. And so I'm excited to see how our sovereignty circles can grow over the next couple of months, and also the individual healing that can be taking place for each and every one of us. Because every time you come into the circle, you have a personal intention, and that could be a recommitting to, I want to live with more intention, or I want a slower lifestyle, or I want to remind myself to be the sovereign being, or to reclaim it, or to practice it more deeply. I think this is a beautiful opportunity for those who are ready to commit to themselves and to commit to, in some way, create a better world out there of more self-contained, self-sovereign, self-cared, loving individuals. Wouldn't that be a wonderful place?
Mm. We live in a very noisy world. There's so many of us on the planet, and everything available and on offer is more sound, more stimulation. And we do need that silence. And as I say, that silence can be scary for some people to enter on their own. Something I didn't mention here, because obviously doing this on a podcast is very different from when we are fully there in the circle, is obviously thoughts are going to come up, but just let them come up like a cloud. And I also find that when I do the actual group work like this, there are actually fewer distracting thoughts and often more of the turning inward, hearing what's happening within. But whatever happens, it's just to be able to be with what arises.
Right, and that is a lesson we learn over and over in life. Unfortunately, well, some of us maybe if you learn it and you can hold on to it and practice it as a lifestyle, then you don't have to relearn it, right? But if we learn it and do not practice it, then we're going to forget it because that's how learning works. But it's about the pause, the intention of putting a pause in the calendar, a pause in the moment, a pause in the day, a pause in the sentence. We're intentionally putting a pause. And then, as you said, we accept life as it shows up, as is. We don't always have control over what is showing up: a broken tooth, a flat battery, a beautiful sunshine day. Those are things that arrive, and we accept it as is. And then we look for a better response. How am I going to respond to what's showing up? But without the pause, we're going to react. So the more we are able to practice pauses, be comfortable with long pauses of silence, the more we are going to be able to mold our response or apply the response to be more appropriate for the highest good of everyone. And that will take practice.
There's so much value in that pause. And I think also a lot of our suffering is that we fear, and I speak for myself, that we can't hold the emotion that arises. And that can be joy, that can be discomfort. And in the sitting in silence and even those thoughts arriving that you may not want to have, you learn to just notice the thoughts come and go, and you build a resilience to sit with what is uncomfortable. And you learn to flex that muscle where I don't need to react. I can just observe what's happening here. And then I may choose, big word for the sovereignty concept, how to respond.
Right. And thoughts and emotions that might come up that might be big in the moment for us, just remember they move through us. They are not us. They're energy. So they are going to come and go and fluctuate and mold and change and bring a message maybe that we need to respond to or a new awareness, but they are not an extension of us. If I have thoughts, that does not necessarily mean that is a truth. It's a thought. It might be true, it might not be true. So, and that feeling that's coming up is just, oh, I'm a little bit anxious today. Okay. What is this about? What is it trying to tell me? Is it helping me remember something that I've forgotten or trying to make me aware of something that I'm longing for? I don't stay in that state. I don't put up shop there, right? And so we don't attach to the thoughts. We don't attach to the feeling. We acknowledge, we learn what we want to learn, and then we compassionately make ourselves comfortable again with some form of shift. Could be a shift in movement, it could be a shift in thought, it could be a shift in perspective about what we're thinking about. But these things need space to percolate. You need to practice it somewhere. And so, where are you going to practice it if you don't come to a sovereignty circle?
And we've all had those experiences where you have that day where you say, I don't even know what I'm feeling. I don't
Right.
even know what I'm thinking. And so that's again, that's why I'm saying is we actually do know that thoughts and emotions pass, and it's a choice to hold on to them. So that's why I use that analogy. There are clouds. They're going to move across. The clouds don't stay static. They're moving. Um, so it's to just let them move through. Um, and then there's also information gathering. Another facilitator always says, you're just gathering data. It's just gathering information about where you're at now. And then the invitation is to be compassionate to where you are now. Nothing to fix, nothing to alter. This is where you're finding yourself. And that in itself opens you up to letting go any gripping or bracing or defensiveness.
Yeah, and there's no proving. That's the other thing that we find in silence. I'm not trying to prove anything to myself or the world, right? It's like a lot of the world is noisy, as we said, but a lot of the world is also about achieving. And sovereignty circles is not about that. It's not about proving or achieving, and it's not about filling the void. It is about presence. That's really what it's about. Presence for me and presence for everybody in the circle, and then presence for all beings in the world because we're all having a human experience. Some might not be aware that we're all having it, but when we live as a human being, we are going to have pain, suffering, challenges, opportunity, bliss, joy, ecstatic moments. We go up a hill and we go down a hill, and then there's a valley. We just live in a society that loves the ascent, and then we love to claim victory at the top. We're not so good with holding the descent or the decline, or even when it bottoms out into the valley. And I think with Sovereignty Circle, we are trying to balance those two opposing ideas out, where it's either going to be everything is brilliant and beautiful and I'm on top of the world, or versus I'm here now and it all is good. Even though it might be a descent, it might be a ascent, it might be somewhere halfway up the mountain, it might be I haven't even left base camp yet. It's all good.
I love the word awareness there. We already mentioned that sovereignty and sovereignty circles are about showing up for self, offering self care, and that opens us up to recognizing there are others in the world and they are also sovereign beings. Um, the compassion, the presence, but then this awareness of where I am. And I was silently chuckling because I was thinking they're really being circles because we have somewhere along the line defaulted into being human doings. So, this is an opportunity to come and flex your human being muscle. Sit in silence and be with us. And all the details are on our website, and the link to our website's in the show notes. There's also a blog post called Finding Your Heart Song, Why Silence is the Ultimate Sanctuary on our website. And our email address and details are in the show notes as well and on the website. And I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to say before we wrap up today, Sandy.
No, I think we did a pretty nice job of explaining where sovereignty circles have originated from, why we feel they're important, why they're needed in this moment in the world, how we are committing to ourselves, and how it can be a touchstone for us to continue to grow and heal as we journey through life as individuals, but also together. Now, the only thing that is needed is for people to come and join us. Now, as Maya said, check it out. It's on the website, 23rd of the month, but you do have to RSVP to get that link. And see you in the circle.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and helping me co host this podcast. And I wish you a beautiful sovereign day.
Thank you. I'll do. I'm stepping out into the sunshine and the blue skies, and we'll meet again.
Bye.
Bye bye.